Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Good morning, honorable members. I trust everyone is doing well today. As we begin our devotions with our Moments of Impact segment, I would like to share on this thought today, the power of prayer. Prayer is one of the most powerful spiritual disciplines given to mankind by God. No matter who you are or what you're going through, prayer has the power to deliver you out of it and give you the victory. I vividly recall a story recorded in Isaiah chapter 38, verses 1 to 5, where the power of prayer was demonstrated on a man by the name of Hezekiah, who was facing a death sentence. And it reads, "In those days Hezekiah was sick unto death, and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came to him, saying, Thus said the Lord, set your house in order, for you shall die and not live. Then Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall and prayed unto the Lord and said, Remember now, O Lord, I beseech thee, how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And the word of the Lord came to Isaiah, saying, Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David your father, I have heard your prayer, and I have seen your tears, and behold, I will add 15 years to your life." Hezekiah was given a death sentence, but he understood the power of prayer. He turned his face toward the wall and prayed to the Lord, and as a result, the death sentence was reversed. Let me emphatically and unequivocally state today that prayer has the power to reverse death sentences. Are you experiencing death-like circumstances in your mind? Perhaps you have anxiety. Perhaps you're feeling frustrated. Prayer has the power to reverse mental distress and fatigue. Are you experiencing death-like circumstances in your marriage? Prayer has the power to reverse marital death. Are you experiencing death-like circumstances in your finances? Prayer has the power to reverse financial death. Are you experiencing death-like circumstances in your relationships with your siblings, your parents, colleagues? Prayer has the power to reverse relational death. Are you experiencing death-like circumstances in your health? Doctors gave you a bad report and you have a debilitating sickness or disease. I've come to tell today that prayer has power to reverse physical illnesses. You see, prayer is very personal to me. I have a real-life testimony about the power of prayer and its ability to reverse physical death. About 4 years ago, I was visiting a church along with a few of our members. And while at this service, one of our members started to feel nauseated and dizzy and eventually became unconscious. When I was made aware of what was going on, I went to her and saw her condition and realized she wasn't looking good. She was dying. I saw her eyes rolled over as if she had just expired. And I remember praying and calling on the God of heaven to bring her back to life. And I can tell you, in a matter of minutes, she regained consciousness. She lived and is living today. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 says, Call unto me, and I will answer you, and I will show you great and mighty things which thou knowest not. If we call unto God, he will answer us, and he will show us mighty things which we know not. My admonishment to each of you honorable members in this sacred place and those under the sound of my voice is to recommit to the discipline of prayer. To all of the pastors and bishops, apostles, teachers, ministers, and evangelists in our great nation, let's recommit to prayer. If we increase the temperature of prayer in our nation, we would see less crime, less social ills. There would be less angry people. There'd be more peace on our streets. And most importantly, we will see the power of Almighty God. I conclude with these final thoughts. Prayer gives you direct access to the God of heaven and earth. You never have to set an appointment with God to have an audience with him. The prayer line is never busy. You can call on him 24/7, 365 days out of the year. God is always waiting to hear from you. Selah, think and act on these things. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've blessed us with. We thank you for your grace and your mercy that you've freely bestowed upon us. Lord, we thank you for granting us access to you through prayer. You said in your word, come unto me, all that are labor and heavy laden, and you will give us rest. For your yoke is easy and your burden is light. And so today, as a nation, we boldly come before your throne of grace, asking you to grant us peace in our land. Lord, we confess that this crime problem we are facing as a nation is bigger than us. We acknowledge that this crime problem is not a political problem, but is indeed a spiritual one. Oh Lord, our eyes are upon you, and we need your divine intervention. We know that all power lies in your hand, and you can do whatever you please. And so we pray today that you would arrest the spirit of crime and violence in our nation and subdue every demonic stronghold and satanic influence that is on assignment to wreak havoc among our citizenry. Satan, the Lord rebuke you. We declare that you are not welcomed in our nation. Almighty God, touch our young men and our young women. Turn their hearts towards you. Turn their hearts of stone into hearts of flesh. Now, Father, as these honorable members have gathered today to discuss the people's business, may calm heads prevail. May your divine wisdom direct and steer the deliberations of the day. We ask you, Holy Spirit, to take full control of this sacred place. We ask that you would saturate this place with your presence. Be with us. Cause us to feel you and know that you are here. And may your perfect will be accomplished in today's proceedings. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. And everybody say, amen. Honorable members, will you join me in repeating the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Mitchell, Glennis Hannah Martin, Obadiah Wilson, Alfred Sayers, Dr. Michael Darville, Clay Sweeting, Keith Bell, Wayne Monroe, Vaughn Miller, JoBeth Colby Davis, Ginger Moxley, Mario Boleg, Jomo Campbell, Basil McIntosh, Miles LaRoda, Pia Glover Roll, Lisa Ramming, Zane Lightbourne, Dr. Hubert Minnis, Jamal Strawn, John Pinder, Barkus Roll, Leon Lundy, Kirk Cornish, Wade Watson, Leonardo Lightbourne, Leslie Miller Bryce, Leroy Major, Sylvanius Petty, Mikkel Bonnaby, Michael Pintard, James Kwesi Thompson, Aram Lewis, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, Adrian Gibson, Adrian White.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning again. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Laying of documents by ministers.
Just before the laying of documents, a few housekeeping matters. Mr. Deputy, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the House passed a resolution, the effect of which was to allow all members to be marked present on the attendance register. we have now returned to the normal seating arrangement. Members will now only be marked present if they are physically here. To give effect to this, I now move the following resolution. Resolved that the keeping of the House's attendance register do return to the pre-COVID-19 standard, whereby register will reflect the true physical presence of members at each sitting of the House. I so move. Second.
Second.
Order that the resolution be brought up.
Um, 010, 05, 22. Not yet. You're the first resolution. You're the only one, but not yet.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the following resolution be agreed.
Would you not leave?
Resolved that the keeping of the House attendance register to return to the pre-COVID-19 standard, whereby register will reflect the true physical presence of members at each sitting of the House. As many are in favor will remain seated, those opposed will stand. The resolution is agreed.
The Deputy, just before we begin the communications, we made a promise in this House to the pastors who we competed with in a friendly basketball competition that in the event we lose the game, we would apologize and congratulate them. Mr. Deputy, in keeping with our promise, I do so on behalf of members of the House, congratulate the pastors on their successful victory and promise them a more competitive game in the year ahead, and victory awaits. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Table of documents by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and Saudi Lutra.
Deputy Speaker, I beg leave to introduce and lay on the table of the House a copy of the following: the Health Services COVID-19 Prevention and Management of Community Spread Amendment Number 15 Rules 2022, and B, the Health Services COVID-19 General Amendment Number 7 Rules 2022.
Order that the documents be brought up. Order that the documents to lie on the table. Further communications by minister. Further tabling of documents. Statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Liam, put your mic up, please.
Yeah. I propose to, at the appropriate time on the agenda, to beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a bill for an act to repeal and replace the Public Procurement Act. And I think it is appropriate that I give a communication in respect to that act at this time. The bill that I propose to introduce, when enacted, would repeal and replace the Public Procurement Act 2021. This act, the 2021 Procurement Act, was rushed through the consultation and legislative process, and came into force 2 weeks before the end of the last administration.
Almost 5 years without it.
The bill is the first of several bills which will be brought to the House to either amend or repeal legislation which was rushed through with little thought about the practical consequences on the governance process. Mr. Deputy Speaker, much has been said about this administration's stance on public procurement, much of it untrue. This administration is committed to fair and transparent public procurement. I have some water. However, more importantly, as I said, at the launch of the new procurement portal on Monday, we believe that public procurement, when used correctly, is a tool to correct some of the historical inequalities in our system. In other words, there is space in every procurement framework for affirmative action. Fair and transparent procurement is not just publishing the names of contract awardees, but ensuring that a process is followed which demonstrates value for money concerning the use of taxpayers' funds. As we have seen, concerning the pandemic-related expenditure, this seems to have been a forgotten concept in government during the last administration. There are many other instances where I've seen an apparent disregard for generally accepted principles of good public procurement, which occurred before September 1st, 2021. In time, this disregard for these principles, which are covered by central government and public bodies, would be disclosed to the public. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this bill was benchmarked against countries in and outside of the region, and the provisions providing space for affirmative action were adopted from these jurisdictions. The current act is deficient in this and other areas, and simply is unworkable. The primary purposes of this new bill are to increase transparency by expanding the number of procurement contracts that are subject to tender committee review, to create greater administrative efficiency by increasing financial thresholds for committee review, board review, and cabinet review, to discourage and detect procurement process abuse by the expansion of control mechanisms, and to encourage the development of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, women-owned businesses, youth-owned and family-island businesses. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will highlight briefly some critical parts of the bill. Section 3 of the bill is the application section and speaks to the application of the Act. And this has been revised to exclude additional areas that are not procured due to their nature. The other excluded areas are financial consultancy concerning public debt, audit services, contracts entered into by the government in support of or in pursuant to an international treaty, accord or convention, or other international multilateral agreement, an agreement between the government and an international funding agency whose procurement rules are mandatorily applied to any procurement contracts, partially or wholly funded by monies, loan or advance pursuant to such agreements. But that's the exclusion clause to which the Act would not apply. Section 4 has been amended to ensure that persons desirous of participating in procurement are registered with the Public Procurement Department in the electronic procurement system. The new language intends to ensure that the electronic procurement system can be accessed by those who are technologically competent and those who may require the procurement department's assistance. The original Act largely excluded public bodies from its application. However, the minister may now apply all or parts of this Act to public bodies by order. This is given by Clause 5 or Section 5. In the interim, public bodies are expected to publish their procurement guidelines and ensure that they comply with new principles for procurement outlined in Part 2 of the second schedule of the Act and any guidance issued by a domestic regulatory body. 8.3 of the Act enables the entry into what we call a framework agreement. A framework agreement is an agreement by a supplier to provide goods or services under a predetermined pricing structure and on specified terms and conditions within the period specified therein. This will allow a procuring entity to enter into an agreement comprising a long-term relationship with a provider or a range of providers to place orders without going to tender each time. The benefits of such agreements include potentially reduced transaction costs and better value to the procuring entity and best suits large volume buying. In addition, it removes the need to undertake an entire procurement process as the process undergoes complete procurement to establish the framework and for suppliers to join it. The regulations are expected to fully address the process for entering into and accessing framework agreements. Section 11 sets up the procurement board, which formerly consisted of 9 members, large and unyielding, which has been reduced to 7 to ensure administrative efficiency. The board will include key members of government and civil society. A new qualification for the civil society appointees, not mentioned in the original Act, is that they have the skill, knowledge, and integrity to carry out their duties, and that they have no financial or other interests likely to affect the exercise of their functions. Section 16 sets up tender committees. The original Act required each procuring entity to establish a tender committee to review bids and award contracts with an estimated value of more than $50,000. To ensure that the award of material contracts is reviewed at the committee level and to provide an effective control mechanism, this threshold has been decreased to $25,000. The procuring entity may evaluate and award tenders for contracts below $25,000. Section 18 of the Act speaks to the financial thresholds. So all financial thresholds in the original Act have been revised to provide greater flexibility and transparency to ensure procuring entities can operate and enter into agreements efficiently and swiftly. The revised process is now as follows. Contracts that are more than $25,000 but less than $400,000, evaluate and recommend the award of the contract to the minister. The committee will evaluate, the tenders committee within the entity will evaluate and make a recommendation of the award of the contract to the minister responsible to or responsible for the procuring entity. This numbers was formerly $50,000 to $250,000. Contracts that are more than $400,000 but less than $2.5 million are forwarded to the Tenders Board, along with the tender committee's recommendation for the board's approval. And so the entity's tenders committee will make the recommendation that will go to the tenders board, and then the tenders board will approve or otherwise the recommendation. Contracts for over $2.5 million are forwarded again by the tenders committee with their recommendation to the board for their recommendation, and after that, the board shall forward its recommendation to cabinet for approval. Section 22 through 43 speaks about the type and bidding methods having been reorganized to make it clear that the competitive process should always be followed, with the only exception being the non-competitive direct award process, formerly called in the original act limited bidding. The notable changes include the requirement that contracts below a certain threshold amount should be conducted by national bidding unless approval is sought from the chief procurement officer to open such process to national and international bidding. Section 31, under the same rubric, which formerly addressed limited bidding, has been renamed direct award, as this is what the provision always allowed. And the renaming ensures that laymen reading the act understand its implications. Although the availability of direct awards has been increased to allow for direct awards in several different circumstances, the process has changed such that a procuring entity can no longer make a direct award and provide justifications after already making that award. The new method, which aids in transparency, is that approval must be sought by any procuring entity seeking to make a direct award before making such an award. The financial threshold for a request for quotations at a competitive bidding process, allowing a procuring entity to procure quotes from a minimum of 3 bidders, has been increased to $25,000 to ensure that procuring entities may take advantage of the efficiencies in this process for a more significant number of contracts. The original act limited the ability to use requests for quotation if the contract exceeded $5,000 for goods and $10,000 for works or services. Development preference. A preference is a margin or percentage that may be applied to scoring bids under review if such choice is fully disclosed in the bidding documents. The original act included a reference to an undefined domestic preference. This act defines a development preference as a margin of preference outlined in bidding documents, which may be applied to the MEs, that's women-owned businesses and family-owned businesses. In other words, this preference is intended to facilitate and give a leg up to businesses that the government is seeking to encourage. Yes. New definitions of women-owned businesses, the MSME, and family-owned business have been inserted. In particular, women-owned business is a business that is owned and controlled by women. Section 51 of the Act, this section relating to unsatisfactory bids has been expanded to include bids which come in too low and too high to provide greater flexibility. If financial criteria are used to evaluate bids, and the lowest responsive bid exceeds a cost estimate or available budget, assuming cost is the determining factor, the tender committee can investigate the excessive cost. In the original act, they could only negotiate a price reduction and not approve the lowest bidder, even if the cost estimate and available budget were unreasonable in the circumstances. In addition, if the lowest cost bidder's bid is unreasonably low, assuming that cost is a determinative factor, the bid may be rejected if the procuring entity determines that they cannot perform the procurement contract. Section 54 deals with disqualification. The disqualification provisions in the original act have been significantly expanded to allow a bidder to be disqualified for a host of bad actions in the procurement process, including attempting to influence or induce the award of a contract by the offer of employment, a gratuity, or any other thing of service or value. Section 56. Criteria for award of contracts have been expanded to allow flexibility for awards depending on the nature of the contract and the requirements specified for evaluation in the bidding documents. This ensures that these are adequately assessed when scoring criteria consider the lowest bid or the lowest price on other non-financial matters. If no financial criteria are specified, the procuring entity may award a contract based only on the non-financial criteria disclosed in the bidding documents. Section 58 of the new Act clarifies that the publication of beneficial ownership information applies to post-act contracts funded by the proceeds of loans from funding agencies. The original Act's retroactive application of this provision would have offended the Data Protection, Privacy of Personal Information Act, which applies explicitly to the government. The Procurement Review Tribunal has been removed to decrease administrative burdens and costs of establishing another appeal commission, when existing bodies' remits may be expanded to cover the review complaints. Instead, a bidder may appeal to the Tax Appeal Commission, and their remit will be expanded in a forthcoming amendment to the Tax Appeal Commission Act. Mr. Deputy Speaker, given the significant changes, the reorganization and revision of material provisions relating to bidding methods, and the introduction of several new clauses and definitions, it was determined that repealing the Act would be a better approach than amending the Act. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in closing, the government intends to receive comments from civil society on this legislation. Comments from multilateral financial institutions have been received and largely incorporated into this bill. In addition, in anticipation of this bill's bringing into force, the government has already procured and launched the best-in-class procurement application, Go Bonfire. This application allows for the smooth administration of this legislation. This contrasts with the enactment of the current act, for which no support was provided. Mr. Speaker, we thank you.
Order that the documents be brought up. Okay. Order that the documents to lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. I don't wish to prolong this intervention. My understanding of communications, according to the rules, is that they ought to be non-controversial presentations, Mr. Deputy. There were three things indicated by the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador that I'd like to just briefly touch on. One was that the member for Cat Island made the point that there was rushed consultation. I think it is in the public's interest to know that the actual bill was sent to the Progressive Liberal Party, the Organization for Good Governance, and of course the Chamber of Commerce. It was also peer-reviewed by leading jurisdictions internationally. What is also true is the IDB and the World Bank,
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition rightly pointed out a procedure that communications ought not be controversial. I found no controversy, Mr. Speaker, first of all. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the procedure also is that on communications, there is no rebuttal. So I am confused that the Leader of the Opposition decide to be selective in the rules that he wished be applied. For the record, Mr. Speaker, if the member has a question, he should pose it. Otherwise, there is no rebuttal to communications, Mr. Speaker, provided for under the rules, and we ask that you apply the rules.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. Let me once again raise the point, and if the members opposite wish to look at it in terms of a question, they are free to answer. The IDB, the World Bank, participated in this process. In fact, funding was provided by the IDB to assist in us developing this particular piece of legislation that the Prime Minister, member for Cat Island, has referred to. And again, it was benchmarked across various jurisdictions.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Speaker, I contend that the Leader of the Opposition is introducing new information. A communication has been made. There is to be no debate on the communication. There is to be no rebuttal on the communication, Mr. Speaker. I ask for your ruling on this matter.
Yes. Thank you, honorable member for Exuma. You are right, and so we'll have to wait until we come down to communications. After communications, there is no rebuttal.
Sorry.
So,
Mr. Deputy,
do you have a point of order?
yes, Mr. Deputy,
okay.
then permit me then to raise the question of the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. Did they vote for the bill unanimously? Did the PLP vote for the bill unanimously? Did the World Bank? Did IDB? Did the Chamber of Commerce review it? These are questions.
Yes. Honorable member, I understand where you're coming from, but
you are not Prime Minister. Let the Prime Minister speak for himself. Let him speak for himself. Let him. I'm asking a question. I'm raising a question of the member. I'm raising a question of the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, who holds the position that the member for Exuma does not hold. I'm asking him a question. He should then answer if he has a concern.
Yes, member, but I'm
so
going to.
Can I raise the question?
Yeah, not at this time. Not at this time.
Could you? The member is unable to say whether or not he wishes to entertain questions, because that is permitted in the procedure rules of procedure. That the member for Cat Island he can refuse to answer.
Yeah, not on the communications.
I'm asking by way of you, Mr. Deputy, would the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador accept a question?
Yes, we'll move on. We'll move on, and we'll get to that. Further communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fort Charlotte.
I ask that we follow the rules.
I thank you very much.
Let's listen attentively.
I thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and good morning to all. As Minister responsible for the Bahamas Power and Light Company Limited, I stand in this honorable house to make this communication on a critical issue facing the country's electricity provider. BPL is on the precipice of financial fallout, Mr. Deputy, if we do not act immediately to align the fuel charge with current global prices, ensure reliable sources of clean, affordable, and sustainable energy, and move to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, as promised by our blueprint for change. Therefore, Mr. Deputy, BPL will aggressively implement necessary systems transformation to improve its operational efficiency in the generation, transmission, and distribution of power, protect vulnerable consumers, and take account of the losses incurred by the utility provider during the COVID-19 pandemic. The geopolitical and economic factors. Mr. Deputy, the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 came on the heels of a series of catastrophic storms between 2015 and 2019 that impacted the Bahamas, costing more than $9 billion in damages. Further, Mr. Deputy, we were already on a slow rebound from the previous global recession. These realities were the main catalysts for BPL's then board and executive management team to implement a fuel hedging strategy in July of 2020 that pegged BPL's fuel charge at 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Mr. Deputy, at the time, the fuel hedge worked in our favor when energy costs was at historical low. The global slowdown meant that supply was higher than demand, driving down prices. During this time, we enjoyed a prolonged period of low fuel costs that was able to enable BPL to benefit from the hedging. Without going into the methodology associated with fuel hedging, within the last 12 months, fuel costs have increased globally at an astounding rate due to the global economic and political shocks. In fact, the fuel used to generate electricity now, which is the diesel, the majority fuel being used by BPL today, has increased within this past year by 100%. It is my duty, Mr. Deputy, to note that the low strike price of the hedge strategy, which was $45 per barrel, and the assumptions of relying on more heavy fuel rather than diesel were compromised by a number of factors. Those factors included the fire in 2018 at Clifton Pier, which limited BPL's capacity to burn heavy fuel, and the poor design and execution of the new Watsala engines, which relied also on diesel fuel. Thus, Mr. Deputy, these factors eroded the benefit of the hedge strategy and placed BPL in a spiraling cash crisis. Notwithstanding the global trends, BPL has maintained a fuel charge of 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour. However, as the hedge volumes were declining under the current hedge strategy, and the absence of any sign of immediate relief in the market, Mr. Deputy, BPL is no longer able to realize any of the benefits from its current hedging that had existed at the outset in July of 2020. Further, Mr. Deputy, the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine and the exit from the pandemic, which have caused fuel prices to skyrocket with no significant decline anticipated in the foreseeable future. That being said, you know, it's good to be a Buffalo Soldier. That being said, Mr. Deputy, BPL finds itself at a crossroads. Not even futures experts had anticipated that there would have been a 100% increase in the price of diesel due to the adverse impacts of the pandemic and the ongoing war. Further, present market conditions are not considered conducive to increasing the hedge volumes under the terms of the existing hedge strategy. Mr. Deputy, continuing in this manner has become untenable to our power provider, and the company must now move to adjust the monthly fuel charge to carry out necessary system transformation and ensure the sustainability of its operations. Mr. Deputy, the government is cognizant that an increase in the fuel charge may not be popular at this time. However, I assure this honorable House, as our honorable Prime Minister did yesterday, that deferring it or refusing to do it will create greater hardships down the road, or worst case scenario, result in the catastrophic failure of BPL, something no right-thinking Bahamian could ever consider. It is for this reason, Mr. Deputy, that yesterday, the 4th of October 2022, the Honorable Prime Minister announced an increase in electricity rates due to the rising cost of fuel needed for the generation of electricity at BPL's plants throughout our country. Mr. Deputy, BPL mitigation measures against these hardships. The government and BPL's management, very conscious of the possible hardships that a drastic increase in fuel charges may cause, has therefore undertaken, Mr. Deputy, through a glide path strategy to incrementally increase the fuel charge on customers' bills in a gradual schedule designed to soften the adverse economic, operational, and lifestyle changes that may be necessary because of the increase. The glide path structure of these incremental increase is meant to protect, Mr. Deputy, the most vulnerable consumers among us, whose electricity consumption does not exceed 800 kilowatt hours monthly. Mr. Deputy, in the first phase of this gradual schedule, consumers whose energy consumption is less than 800 kilowatts per hour will see a minimal 2 cents per kilowatt hour increase in the fuel component of their bill, jumping from 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour to 12.5 cents per kilowatt hours. For consumers whose electricity usage exceed 800 kilowatts per hour, they will see an increase in the fuel component of 4.3 cents per kilowatt hour, jumping to 14.8 cents per kilowatt hour. This increase will commence on the October billing cycle with bills issued in November of 2022. Mr. Deputy, I wish to further explain to consumers that consumption of 0 to 799 kilowatts per hour will be charged at a rate of 12.5 cents. However, consumption exceeding 799 kilowatts per hour will be charged at the higher rate. In simplistic terms, the first per month, this is per month. The first, in simplistic terms, the first 799 kilowatts per hour on all consumer bills, regardless of total consumption, will be billed at the lower fuel charge for the prescribed period. Mr. Deputy, the intent is for 2 cent increases to continue quarterly to August 2023, capping 18.5 cents per kilowatt hour for consumers who use less than 800 kilowatts per hour, or 27.6 for those who consume more than 800 kilowatts per hour. BPL anticipates a gradual decline, Mr. Deputy, after August 23, but must emphasize that this is most certainly contingent upon the fuel supply market at that time. I must emphasize, Mr. Deputy, that the intent of this fuel charge increase is to help right-size BPL, not enrich BPL, and it is for a period of approximately 12 months. The fuel charge goes directly by law to the consumer. And as I will explain later. Further, the highest fuel charges increases on the higher category of consumption, above 800 kilowatts per hour, is just 2 cents, 2 cents, higher than the 25 cents per kilowatt hour charged at the height of the global recession in 2010. And it's only 3 months between June and August of 2023. Even with these increases, Mr. Deputy, even with these increases, electricity rates in the Bahamas will be lower than most of our regional counterparts. The most vulnerable consumers will pay less than the current rates in Jamaica, in Barbados, in the Cayman Islands, and also, Mr. Deputy, in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Mr. Deputy, for those who are not aware, monthly consumer bills, electricity bills, comprise 3 components. The first is the base rate. This is a tiered system based on consumption, with higher consumption paying a higher base rate. And this cost within one's electricity bill is fixed. The second component is the fuel charge. And the fuel charge is a direct pass-through to the consumer. This means that BPL does not retain any of the money derived from this component of the bill, as it encompasses the cost of fuel, which varies, and with respect to diesel, has increased over 100% in the past year, and includes costs like transshipment for the billing period. This is a variable cost that changes based on global market conditions. The third component is value-added tax, charged at 10% on bills only to customers whose monthly bill whose monthly bill exceeds $300 in a billing cycle. And this is designed to protect the most vulnerable consumers. Now, Mr. Deputy, yesterday, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance announced a further reduction, and that is all consumers in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas of electricity supplied by a utility, an electricity utility, will receive a 0 VAT rating on the first $400 of their bill. This applies to consumers of BPL, of Freeport Power, and also other utility companies, such as in Spanish Wells. So all utility providers, beginning in November, will receive a 0 VAT on the first $400 of their bill. Mr. Deputy, when you combine the 3 components of an electricity bill, a consumer who uses 400 kilowatt hour will see a certain increase versus the other. And again, Mr. Deputy, we see the government, through these measures, seeking to protect the most vulnerable and giving more relief, even as the increase with the fuel, which is unavoidable, we see a further reduction in the third component of one's bill, which is the VAT. Mr. Deputy, as the country's primary electricity provider, the government is aware of the challenges consumers face in managing their electricity bills. BPL's fuel charges increase, though painful, is necessary and comes after much forethought as to timing and impact. Beyond the glide path, gradual increase, the timing, which is now. The timing of the increase scheduled for this month comes after the summer months, which is the highest consumption period of the consumers, air conditioning and other consumptions. Incorporation of other forms of clean, affordable, and sustainable energy. Mr. Deputy, we are acutely aware of the costs to produce electricity in our archipelago, and BPL has developed short and long-term solutions to improve reliability, reduce the cost of electricity for Bahamian consumers, and it is the government's mandate, and I quote, to ensure reliable sources of affordable, sustainable energy and move to reduce the reliance on fossil fuel. And this is taken from our blueprint for change. Mr. Deputy, BPL is aware and sensitive to consumers who may not understand or know how to control their consumption. And therefore, currently, BPL is preparing to integrate into its system a smart metering and prepaid system as part of the strategy of alleviation, modernization of its business. This will allow customers to advance purchase their electricity based on their needs, as well as pay on arrears, like the way consumers now purchase prepaid on their mobile plans. This system will give consumers ultimate control and can help drive down electricity consumption and the resulting costs to consumers in the Bahamas. Already, BPL is revising its approach to the procurement, usage, and management of fossil fuel for generation through a multifaceted approach that includes fuel source diversification and the implementation of an innovative fuel consumption reduction initiative in the battery energy storage system, BESS, to be commissioned in New Providence within the next 12 months. The BESS will provide a spinning reserve and assist with eliminating grid instability associated with the integration of renewable energy systems, thereby accelerating plans and commitment towards adopting a smarter, more resilient and green network. BPL's renewable strategy is evolving as mandated in the Blueprint for Change, the Speech from the Throne, and the National Development Plan to achieve 30% of the power generation from renewable sources by 2030. Led by the government's Project Execution Unit and funded through the IDB and the European Union Bank, there are hybrid energy solution projects as I speak, being planned in the southern region of our country, Michael, East Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Eleuthera, that are slated for completion by 2023. Additionally, Mr. Deputy, I'm proud to announce that BPL is in the advanced stages of an implementation plan with a private investor to construct a 60 megawatt solar plant in New Providence. 60 megawatt photovoltaic renewable generation plant in New Providence. Once added to BPL's generation network in New Providence, this plant is expected to decrease BPL's annual costs by $23 million. Of significant importance, the project in its design, implementation, and operational phases will provide much needed jobs and training opportunities for Bahamians. But more importantly, Mr. Deputy, though it will bring down the cost of electricity and reduce the outflow of valuable foreign exchange on fuel cost. I would also wish to inform this Honorable House that the Cabinet Subcommittee on Energy is currently considering various proposals aimed at reducing BPL's dependence on fossil fuel. Some of these proposals relate to the utilization of LNG as a source of fuel to provide for power generation and bunkering for cruise ships. Another proposal relates to cost-cutting efficiency at BPL will be considered and adopted, and the recommendations. And here, Mr. Deputy, we recognize the need to bring the best advisory services to guide BPL in the process of transformation. And therefore, McKinsey, a globally known advisory firm, has been engaged and provided the technical advice with the strategy that I am currently outlining. The report has made several recommendations to enhance and introduce efficiency so that BPL, Mr. Deputy, is more nimble in the management and operation of the power generation, transmission, and distribution within our country. And as this process unfolds, I will be making regular reports to this Honorable House. These projects combined will significantly broaden the diversification of energy sources within BPL's generation fleet and will complement others already commissioned, including the first solar microgrid system on Ragged Island, an award-winning solar and battery storage solution which provides 90% of the island's generation. We are also proud, Mr. Deputy, of other projects which are underway by private partners. Which means, Mr. Deputy, that we are well on our way to achieving 30%, the promise that we made. We therefore encourage the private sector for their partnership in ensuring that this goal is met. Customers of BPL who are currently utilizing solar panels at their residential homes will also benefit, as colleagues would recall during the budget debate. The Tariff Act was amended, removing all custom duty from solar batteries and other components, making it much more feasible for residents to install solar panels, for commercial customers of BPL to also install solar panels. Customers that apply to BPL and are approved can install systems up to a maximum of 100 kilowatt with the guidelines with respect to the size that would be approved contained in the Level 1 SSRG requirements for grid interconnection. Under this program, customers are allowed to connect their system behind the meter so that they can take advantage of any energy generated first, with any excess then being sent to the grid. BPL credits the customer's account at the prevailing fuel charge rate for any energy sent to the grid. While these projects will make a considerable dent in BPL's fossil fuel consumption, there are a series of other projects, like the current program to introduce LED streetlights project in New Providence. The street lighting project is expected to start within the next several weeks, replacing 30,000 street lights in New Providence. The many benefits include providing greater safety and security in our communities, while at the same time conserving energy using more efficient LED lighting that uses about 50% less power and will translate to a direct savings in the fuel charge. Mr. Deputy, the government and BPL will continue to employ and exercise best strategies to ensure the provision of safe, reliable, and affordable electricity throughout our archipelago. The government, in facilitating the restructuring of BPL, Mr. Deputy, has secured $22 million for microgrids. The government has secured $70 million for the entire energy sector. And the government has been assisting BPL through various financing mechanisms to cover the arrears owed by BPL to Shell, the provider of its fuel. A firm arrangement has now been arrived whereby, as of the 1st of October, several days ago, the government makes a monthly subvention of $10 million to Shell to be applied to BPL's arrears. This arrangement will continue to June 2023. It is important to note that BPL, as it has been doing, will continue to meet the current charges from Shell. The net effect of these arrangements will be the elimination of arrears while remaining current with payments for fuel from Shell. We cannot kick this ball down the road any longer. It is our intent. The fire was in 2018.
Yeah, don't forget about that fire now. You know about that fire.
Wärtsilä was well beyond September 2021. Please. It is our intent to visit, it is not, Mr. Deputy, our intent to visit hardships on Bahamians. This increase is a product of our present realities, which did not arise yesterday.
That's right.
But we're not blaming nobody. We're not blaming anybody. We have a responsibility, and we're doing the responsible thing.
Men and women.
Men and women.
As we retool, it is imperative that all Bahamians take an active role in managing the impact of the fuel charge increase. Lower consumption inevitably will mean lower fuel costs and a lower electricity bill. We recognize the financial challenges impacting all of us as Bahamians, especially as we are just recovering from a pandemic and multiple years of devastating storms. BPL, and I want to commend BPL, is in the business of consistently improving electricity to the Bahamian consumers. Therefore, customers Mr. Deputy, as I close, I just want to state it is beyond time that we pivot and begin employing the tools and strategies required to meet the electricity needs, not only of the 400,000 residents of our country, but the over 5 million annual visitors, and hopefully the Minister of Tourism has set a target well beyond 7 million. The increase is a necessary sacrifice to achieve the objective of energy independence and greater reliance on renewables to give BPL a chance to modernize its operations and to improve the competitive index of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, so that the cost of doing business in our country is less burdensome, not only for foreign investors, but most especially for Bahamians. Robust and sustainable energy supply is critical to our ability to thrive as a people, as a collective, as a nation state. We must support the strategies designed to improve BPL. Though the costs may be great now, the value will be realized in the near future and for generations to come. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. One minute. Order that the documents be brought up. Once you start. Order that the documents to lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Barnabas.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's a legitimate question here about the delay that the Bahamian people are concerned about, that this kicking the can down the road has happened. So 7 months ago, and even BPL has said that the delay, that the 7-month delay caused the Bahamian people. So the legitimate question from the Bahamian people is, why the delay, 7-month delay?
Honorable member, yes, we're gonna get to notices for future meetings. Then we can ask questions.
The member hasn't refused. The member hasn't refused to.
Honorable member, do you want to answer the question? If yes, we're gonna get to notices of future meetings. Yes.
Stand on your feet.
Why the delay?
No, but I don't think he has to do that.
Legitimate question. It's a legitimate question.
Members, we're still in communications. We're gonna get to that. I know everybody is excited, but we're gonna get to that.
It's a legitimate question that the Bahamian people ask.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question, but he doesn't want to answer. So we're gonna move on and. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Deputy.
Members, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Grand Bahama. Members.
Mr. Deputy.
St. Barnabas, 1 minute. Yeah.
My question is the Bahamian people's question.
Yes. Members, take your seat. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
The very least you should be able to recognize is that for at least 7 months, Bahamians had relief. They had relief. They did not have to pay. They did not have to pay a higher light bill, right, for the 7 months. The delay was exactly because of that. Because I said I did not want, because of the state, because of the state of the economy. And I think it's proof.
Members.
Right? So Mr.
So in both cases, the
Members, the chair recognizes the honorable member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
We're still in the order. We're still in the order of communications, Mr. Deputy. May we stick to the agenda?
Let's move on. Further communications of members. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Kalani.
Communication. Thank you very much. Communication. Thank you very much. I understand. Yes.
Members. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Kalani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am well aware that this is communication, and I understand that it's not combative. But I would hope that the member would provide some scientific data at the end. I was hoping to provide it at the end of the speech to show where these so-called Wärtsilä engines were poorly designed. We wanted the information for that. And I would only want to clarify something. The engines that we purchased, Wärtsilä, they're tri-fuel, meaning they can use bunker C, LNG, as well as diesel. Only the 30 megawatt engine at Blue Hill Road that we purchased from the US uses diesel, and that was only to use as a backup. So ask BPL to check your record. Many of your information is incorrect, but I would get to that.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Fort Charlotte.
Mr. Deputy, I'm not an engineer. I rely on the technical advice. No, please.
Members.
I rely on the people who manage BPL. I am advised that the Wärtsilä engines were poorly executed. Yes, intended for 3 types of fuel. But, Mr. Deputy, in operation, and the honorable member would know this, it has only been able to function primarily with diesel and not at full capacity. Now that's $100 million. But you see, I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to make this controversial. You see what I'm saying, Mr. Deputy? But $100 million. Wow. Tri-fuel. Wow. Right? Supposed to be consuming bunker C, the heavy fuel. But because of, I have been advised, poor execution. Poor execution. Ends up having to use, Mr. Deputy.
You say 100 million? 100.
The highest, the most expensive.
See, you're going to open a can of worms.
At a time when the global trend increases the cost of diesel by 100%. But this honorable member would know that there was a fire right down at Clifton Pier. He knows that there were the capacity of Clifton Pier to boil and heat up the heavy fuel to enable the engines at Clifton Pier to use the cheaper, heavier fuel. They lost, and have you provided this House a report on the fire? No. And the thing is this, Mr. Deputy, why didn't the honorable member, when he had the privilege to serve as Prime Minister, not disclose that this tri-fuel engines were burning this heavy, no, it was burning diesel. I mean, the rationale that was used, tri-fuel. I mean, that sounds good. But we have to look at the practice. What was the practice? What was the practice? Therefore, we're not here to blame. We're here to solve the problem. But
Thank you, Honorable Member. No, Kalani, let's keep it short because we have to continue on with communications.
Very short. Mr. Deputy, this is not a debate, and I would read the members' communications. We'll get to that. I came here this morning fired up and ready to debate, but all I see is podium, so it's going to be multiple communications. The agenda has obviously changed, and I don't know if this is the government's way of muzzling the opposition.
The chair recognizes honorable member for Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I remind my colleagues we had a lovely service Sunday past, and I remind them of the word and the message from that service. Remain focused. Don't let the detractors distract you. I think they said there's some sand ballots and some Tobias. Don't allow them to detract you. We are working on behalf of the Bahamian people. And as long as we keep working, we will achieve much things to the benefit of our people. So don't get distracted and remain focused. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is an honor and a privilege to rise in this honorable house on behalf of the good people of the Elizabeth constituency and on behalf of hardworking Bahamians throughout our country. Today is observed as World Teachers' Day, Deputy Speaker. Therefore, please permit me the opportunity to pay tribute to teachers across our entire nation and to sincerely thank them for their role in nation building and developing our people. Deputy Speaker David Edwards, the General Secretary of Education International, recently stated rightly that teachers are the beating heart of education. The theme for World Teachers' Day 2022 is the transformation of education begins with teachers. This is an acknowledgement of the role that teachers play in making quality education a reality in our society. I extend, Deputy Speaker, a happy Teachers' Day to all teachers in the Bahamas. Their service to nation building is truly valued and appreciated. Deputy Speaker, in our party's campaign for political office, we chose the theme, A New Day. And when we think about a new day, Deputy Speaker, we think about a beautiful sunrise. We think about the promise of a new dawn. We think about new opportunities. Governance, Deputy Speaker, is about the transformation of our people through sustainable, innovative solutions that uplift and empower our people. To be clear, Deputy Speaker, it is about being responsible and compassionate in our understanding that at the heart of national policy is our Bahamian people. Deputy Speaker, in less than 10 months, our nation will observe the 50th anniversary of our independence. It will be a time of national reflection on the Bahamian experiment, the successes, the failures, and the opportunities for improvement and growth. Deputy Speaker, it was the transformative nationalistic dreams of our founding fathers and the crystallization of that vision that has brought the Bahamas to this juncture. However, Deputy Speaker, the Bahamian experiment is incomplete and requires a reinvigorated national development approach and the political will to build on the foundation that has been built. Deputy Speaker, in our party's blueprint for change, we committed to the implementation of a rent-to-own initiative to expand the path to home ownership for Bahamians. As I speak, Deputy Speaker, the Department of Housing is currently reviewing over 1,200 active applications for housing. Each customer service representative at the department is currently managing over 350 applications. These applications, Deputy Speaker, are from all segments of Bahamian society and include teachers, nurses, police officers, hospitality workers, bankers, to name a few. Deputy Speaker, over the past few months, my team at the Ministry of Transport and Housing have been working diligently on a viable and sustainable rent-to-own structure. Today, Deputy Speaker, I am pleased and humbled to advise this Honorable House of the launch of Phase 1 of A Place to Call Home, a rent-to-own initiative by the Department of Housing. A Place to Call Home, Deputy Speaker, is being launched under the Housing Act, which empowers the Department of Housing to construct dwelling houses upon land owned by the government or to be acquired for such purposes, acquire dwelling houses, land, or housing projects by way of purchase, lease, or otherwise, sell, lease, exchange, or otherwise dispose of real or personal property acquired pursuant to this act. As I have indicated in this chamber on numerous occasions, Deputy Speaker, the Davis administration believes wholeheartedly in empowering hard-working Bahamians through home ownership. We believe, Deputy Speaker, in balanced developments that puts Bahamians at the center of the evolution of our communities and our country. Deputy Speaker, in August of this year, the Department of Housing prepared an internal report entitled Transforming the Housing Sector, Recommendations to Expand the Path to Home Ownership for Bahamians. An excerpt from the Statement of Purpose, Deputy Speaker, reads, and I quote, "Over the past 49 years, the Bahamian population more than doubled in size, according to the United Nations, growing from 181,518 in 1973 to 400,417 in 2021. This development had a profound impact on housing. In 1984, the then Ministry of Housing and National Insurance, under the leadership of Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, released a study entitled Housing Needs in the Bahamas, which outlined that 1,777 new homes would be needed annually to meet the housing needs of new households in New Providence. In 2016, the Inter-American Development Bank indicated that 3,600 new homes or housing repairs would be needed annually in the Bahamas, a significant increase in the comparison to the figure outlined in 1984 report, end quote. The Statement of Purpose, Deputy Speaker, went on, and I quote, "The number of new homes can be measured by the number of residential construction permits issued annually. An analysis of data from the Central Bank of the Bahamas between 2012 to 2022 indicates that average annual construction residential permits issued was 1,065, resulting in an average annual deficit of 2,535 in comparison to the annual housing goal indicated in the 2016 IDB report. According to the Central Bank of the Bahamas, the average monthly mortgage rose from $1,187 in 2012 to $1,907 in 2021, an increase of $720 a month over 9 years. To be clear, several factors may have influenced the increase. However, a glaring observation is that the average monthly mortgage payment exceeds the monthly earnings of many low and middle income earning Bahamians. Further, of the over $2 billion outstanding in consumer debt, over $800 million is categorized as debt consolidation, a further indication of the financial strain on low and middle income earners. The internal report concluded, Deputy Speaker, that the primary challenges facing housing are a shortage of affordable housing solution and personal financial challenges that impede many Bahamians. Deputy Speaker, one of the recommendations of the internal report is the implementation of a viable and sustainable rent-to-own program. And it is my belief, Deputy Speaker, that a place to call home is that initiative. The mission statement of A Place to Call Home is to provide a sustainable path to home ownership, to empower, to create value, and to make a difference in the lives of Bahamians. The core values of the Rent to Own initiative are embodied in the acronym I3: integrity, innovation, and impact. A Place to Call Home will be built on integrity. We will be transparent, honest, and accountable with the Bahamian people. Deputy Speaker, A Place to Call Home will be innovative. We will use technology and proven best practices from rent-to-own initiatives from New Zealand, Singapore, and the United Kingdom. Deputy Speaker, A Place to Call Home will have impact. We will use data analysis and employ delivery solutions to ensure that we deliver value for the Bahamian people. Deputy Speaker, A Place to Call Home is designed for working Bahamians. It is a multi-island, sustainable, financially viable housing solution administered by the Department of Housing with oversight provided by an advisory committee comprised of qualified and experienced Bahamian professionals from the public and private sector. Phase 1 of A Place to Call Home, Deputy Speaker, will be rolled out in very short order on the island of Abaco. I'm excited to announce that we initially have 5 housing units ready. The homes will be in Spring City. Deputy Speaker, this Abaco rollout of A Place to Call Home is a partnership with the Bahamas Mortgage Corp. Deputy Speaker, we are starting A Place to Call Home in Abaco because this administration understands the need for housing on the island is great. We also understand that the cost of rent on the island is significant. So this rent-to-own initiative will assist in lowering the cost of housing. Deputy Speaker, I said in my address to the Abaco Business Outlook that we will not abandon Abaconians. My ministry will deliver on that promise. At the Department of Housing, Deputy Speaker, we understand that housing must complement national development and assist in regenerating our family islands. Therefore, A Place to Call Home will be multi-island. For example, the people of San Salvador, where there is major development with the Club Med Resort, will be hearing about our plans shortly. In Bimini and North Eleuthera, where we are seeing strong tourism numbers, Deputy Speaker, A Place to Call Home will be launched. In Cat Island, Exuma, and North Andros, we will offer our rent-to-own initiative. Bahamians, Deputy Speaker, across our country will have a viable path to home ownership through A Place to Call Home and other housing solutions that the Department of Housing is working on. Deputy Speaker, an important component of A Place to Call Home will be to expand economic opportunities to license small contractors on our island with a proven and verified track record of quality performance and excellence. We understand that economic benefits must trickle down. Deputy Speaker, so I say to all small contractors very simply, get ready. Deputy Speaker, a number of housing models will be used in A Place to Call Home. The models will range from a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom bath, and I have a few here with me I wanted to just show. 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom bathroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom model. Good job, Minister. And we also have 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom models. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom there, and then we have 2 bedrooms. We don't use sketches and we don't use pictures from Google. Yes. Okay, and then you can just show them the look of the design. Deputy Speaker, a place to call home gives Bahamians the opportunity to save up for their first dream home while living in it at the same time. Over an agreed fixed period, rent will be paid to the Department of Housing. A portion of the rent will go towards a down payment for the mortgage, property maintenance, and insurance costs. Deputy Speaker, a reservation deposit is required to enroll in a place to call home. Successful applicants will be required to attend a home ownership education course through the Department of Housing and agree to financial coaching. In short order, Deputy Speaker, a public invitation will be extended for interested applicants to register at www.mothbahamas.com. Bahamians are encouraged to follow the Ministry of Transport and Housing social media pages and to listen out for further information on radio and television. Deputy Speaker, I understand that many Bahamians would like an example of how a place to call home will work. Therefore, let me give you an analogy and explain. Mary Johnson is a teacher. She's interested in enrolling in a place to call home. Mary registers online with the Department of Housing and is advised of the cost of a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. She selects the housing solution to lease for 12 months with the purchase option. Mary also indicates that her preferred financial institution is the Bahamas Mortgage Corp. At the DOH, Deputy Speaker, the customer service team will tailor Mary's solution with the mortgage requirements of the Bahamas Mortgage Corp. The Bahamas Mortgage Corp requires a minimum down payment of 5%. As she selected the 12-month option, the deposit is divided by 12 so that Mary will have the full deposit saved at the end of the 12 months. Mary's total monthly payment to the Department of Housing will be her deposit, savings, plus a concessionary fee for administration, insurance, and maintenance. Mary's monthly payment under the program will be comparable and less than the cost to rent a similar home. Accessible. It is important to note that the funds for the mortgage down payment will be held in escrow only for the purchase of the home. In short order, Deputy Speaker, the Department of Housing will provide greater details to Bahamian people of a place to call home. Solutions will be tailored according to the profile of the applicant. Deputy Speaker, we understand that not every applicant will be successful. There will be some applicants who will be constrained by a high level of unsecured debt. In those instances, our customer service team will offer advice such as making principal payments to the existing unsecured debt and offer financial coaching and tips in preparation for home ownership. Deputy Speaker, at the Department of Housing, we have found that far too many Bahamians do not fully understand the interest costs associated with unsecured loans. For example, an unsecured loan of $45,000 at a repayment term of 10 years and at a rate of 12% would see interest being paid of over $32,000. Deputy Speaker, we aim to empower Bahamians. I take this opportunity to stress a place to call home is for working Bahamians, employed and self-employed Bahamians seeking to become first-time homeowners. As the Minister of Transport and Housing, I wish to encourage Bahamians to review their finances and to prepare to take advantage of this opportunity by the government of the Bahamas. There are some individuals, Deputy Speaker, who are of the view that the government should not be in the business of building and constructing homes. Their views are perhaps formed by notions of corruption, significant cost overruns, and mortgage delinquency. However, as a nation, we must understand that strong processes and procedures can be implemented to provide quality oversight, audit, and control. Further, Deputy Speaker, there are numerous instances of Bahamians who have benefited over the years from affordable housing initiatives by the government of the Bahamas, who have successfully paid off their mortgages, and Bahamians who continue to pay their mortgages without any history of late payments or delinquency. Deputy Speaker, around the region, numerous governments have embarked on significant national housing plans. The government of Barbados has embarked on a plan to create 10,000 homes over the next 5 years, some 2,000 new homes annually. The government of Jamaica has launched a plan to create 75,000 homes over the next 5 years, some 15,000 new homes annually. Deputy Speaker, the Jamaican government, led by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, and the Barbadian government, led by Prime Minister Mia Motley, are well on the way to achieving their respective targets. Deputy Speaker, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, while speaking at a groundbreaking ceremony in San Fernando, strongly made the argument that governments must be focused on providing affordable housing for its citizens. Speaking against the backdrop of over 191,000 housing applications in Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Rowley, Deputy Speaker, said that affordable housing by governments is the only opportunity for many Bahamians to get a home. Deputy Speaker, we need more quality, affordable housing units in the Bahamas. The consequences of not improving the number of housing units available in the country could have negative consequences on the socio-economic affairs of the Bahamian society. These consequences can possibly include an increase in crime, the development of slums, an increase in homelessness, high property prices, pollution, unhygienic conditions, and health problems. Deputy Speaker, the time to act is now. The mark of a good leader is one who is compassionate and visionary. A place to call home is the manifestation of the commitment to expand the path to home ownership by our caring Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis. Deputy Speaker, without the guidance and leadership of our Prime Minister and the support of my cabinet colleagues, I would not be able to officially announce this rent-to-own initiative. Deputy Speaker, I wish to acknowledge the hard work of the professionals at the Ministry of Transport and Housing, especially the team at the Department of Housing, for thinking outside the box and developing the philosophical and conceptual framework for a place to call home. Bahamians want homeownership, and I'm sure that the members opposite are in support of this rent-to-own initiative, as they themselves have expressed support for this type of housing solutions in the past. Deputy Speaker, a place to call home is to expand the path to home ownership for hardworking Bahamians. This administration believes in empowering Bahamians. The desired outcome of a place to call home is an improved and transformed Bahamian society. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the documents be brought up. Order that the documents to lie on the table. Further communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Garden Hills.
No questions on that?
No vision, man. You wanna be leader, you got vision. You still on dooms, we filling homes. Vision.
Members.
Vision. Hear you. Y'all ain't been done in 4.5 years. It ain't you. It ain't you. He ain't been none in 4.5 years.
Members,
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Happy and it's a pleasure to stand in this house to represent the good people from the great constituency of Garden Hills. Before I commence my communication, I'd also take this opportunity to wish happy birthday to those who are celebrating birthday in the month of October, and to give my sincere condolences to those who would have lost loved ones thus far in the month. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I count it a great privilege and honor to stand before this House today on my second occasion as Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, celebrating National Youth Month. The always exciting, exuberant, and hard-working team of Division of Youth, led by Sandina Neely, all whom are in the gallery today, along with the leaders from the ministry, U.S. Montez with them. They continuously find ways to make each year better than the one before, and this year is no different. Mr. Deputy Speaker, under the captivating theme of youth building a bold future, bold defined as bright, optimistic, laborious, and diverse, we at the ministry, by proclamation of our Honorable Prime Minister, have set aside the entire month of October as National Youth Month. The entire month dedicated to the recognition of the work, talent, dedication, testament, and stories of young Bahamians and youth allies. Stories that are so touching and impactful deserves to be highlighted. John Thomas stated, "Stories are powerful. They are the emotional glue that connects the storyteller with its audience, and more importantly, the audience with the idea the storyteller is trying to convey." Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm honored to stand by and here today to tell snippets of a beautiful story of a couple who hails from Grand Bahama, Reverend Leslie and Commandant Yvonne McDonald, have each given over 4 decades of committed and dedicated service to our nation's young people. Yes. Mr. McDonald, through Youth Band Development, is the founder of the Legends Marching Band. And at age 10 years old, he became fascinated with music and created his own marching band, which later went on to perform in Georgia, Bimini, West Virginia, and at Howard University. The band received numerous awards and accolades over the years. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Mrs. Yvonne McDonald can be described as a brave, talented, powerful, and intelligent. She committed her life to promoting positive youth development, youth peer counseling, and youth officers training. A testament of her dedication can be seen through her service to the Grand Bahama Girls Brigade since 1982, where she now serves as Commandant. Mr. Deputy Speaker, she is a fierce youth advocate who loves young people and is very passionate about youth work. She has enjoyed greatly walking alongside so many young people on their journey to success over these decades of service. Therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we at the ministry are so very pleased to announce in this place that the husband and wife team of Reverend Leslie McDonald, Commandant Yvonne McDonald, are the recipients of the 2022 National Youth Month Lifetime Achievement Award and will receive high honors and recognition during the entire month. We are also happy to have them joining us in the gallery today. Mr. Deputy Speaker, just as she was honored in life. We now turn to the story of one whom we honor posthumously, Anita Doherty. Community builder, educator, coach, leader, mentor, and sports legend. Powerful adjectives that describes a life so well lived that is only fitting that she continues to be moralized even after her passing. Athlete, physical education teacher, vice principal, and principal are just some of the formal positions she held throughout her storied life. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in 1998, she was honored as a living legend by the Zonta Club of Nassau. This pioneer served as chief consular for the city of Freeport in Grand Bahama for 3 years during the period of 2005 to 2008. The stories of her impact and legacy are still being told. Even now, you can find individuals eager to recount their interactions with Ms. Doherty, no matter the brief or length. An authentic, passionate, committed, and loving individual. Mr. Deputy Speaker, is whom we are granting the 2022 National Youth Month Posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award. And we are honored to have her family in Grand Bahama watching by a live stream. Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is not accidental that I mentioned these solemn honors at the top of my communication. I do so as a backdrop that lays the foundation for the proverbial road ahead for all the untold stories, for all the stories yet to be written, and for all the countless stories that are unfolding even now of the efforts and of the victories and of all the brilliance of our young people. This is the beauty of National Youth Month. There is so much to uncover and so much to unearth and so much to reveal to the public. I therefore ask that the public to join us as we present this theme, Youth Building a Bold Future, bright, optimistic, libelous, and diverse. Join us as we celebrate our young people. Yes, in their youth, they deserve to be praised. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we look forward to celebrating with and highlighting those in Acklands, Inagua, Andres, Abaco, Exuma, San Salvador, Cat Island, Eleuthera, Long Island, Maguana, Grand Bahama, and here in New Providence, and every island of the Bahamas. I got Crooked Island in there. And Crooked Island. There are activities taking place all month long on just about every inhabited island of our archipelago. So I encourage the public to get involved and stay connected with us through Facebook at Division of Youth 242, Instagram, Division of Youth 242, and let's not forget TikTok, Celebrate Youth Bahamas. I ain't on TikTok, but you can check it. Calendars and flyers are available that has all the relevant information on it. I further encourage the public to nominate the brightest and best young people among us for National Youth Award in one of several categories, including sports, arts, leadership, agriculture, personal triumph, governance, education, and much more. And for the first time since the pandemic, we will take to the streets for the National Youth Rally and March on Sunday, October 23rd, in a show of solidarity and unity where we will stand together with young people as we face the future boldly. Mr. Deputy Speaker, As usual, Youth Parliament will also be in session, and for the first time, we are happy to have a special sitting of youth in the Senate added to our calendar. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we remain indebted to our partners, stakeholders, and youth advocates who join us in celebrating this month. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I end with a portion of our proclamation which calls us as a nation to honor, highlight, and uplift youth who have made bold efforts towards becoming engaged in pursuit with youth and for youth. Remain hopeful in the midst of change and share a unified vision to surpass societal expectation and stereotypes. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I send out a clarion call once again to one and all, stating that National Youth Month is here. You are invited to join us as we celebrate our youth who are building a bold future for themselves and for the generations to come. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the documents be brought up. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture and Leader of Government Business. Honorable members, members of the public, we did not want this opportunity to pass without joining the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture in celebrating our young people and to congratulating this incredible team that you have from the Ministry of Youth. We're in love with that team as well, just to let you know. and so we want to join in paying a special tribute to Mr. Leslie and Mrs. Yvonne McDonald, recipients of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture Lifetime Achievement Award 2022. As was mentioned earlier, Mr. Leslie McDonald has contributed 47 years to youth development in the Bahamas. Obviously, that some of our younger members would have known him and benefited personally being from Grand Bahama. But in 1980, he formed the first Boys Brigade Band in Grand Bahama, which is still active. Mr. McDonald is also the founder of the Legends Marching Band, which was formed in 2002, and currently has membership of over 100 participants and is known throughout the world. The Legend Band was the first Bahamian band, to my knowledge, to play at Howard University and the Citrus Bowl Parade. Mr. McDonald is also an asset to the Junkanoo community in Grand Bahama and by extension elsewhere. He has been a member of the Superstar Walkers, where he served as a leader of the horn section until his retirement in 2010. He has been instrumental in many respects as it relates to the development of music in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. He's been instrumental in ensuring scholarships at top universities in the United States of America for many young Bahamians. According to his past band member, Jordash Grant, who is the head band director and orchestra director at Uplift North Hills Preparatory, and of course the music director for the 36 schools in the District of Irving, Texas, where he started the music program 14 years ago. This is what he had to say. Mr. Leslie McDonald is single-handedly responsible for the direction I took in my life. I'm a professional touring musician. I have toured the world performing with artists like John B. Kim, Charlie Wilson, and Jennifer Hudson. That is what I do outside of teaching when I was 14 years old. He has had an idea to start a community band, and it was 5 of us, myself, including him as the leader. From that experience, I knew I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be a band director. I wanted to be able to shape children and change people's lives through music programs. His strong leadership is what I emulate in my own life. The way he spoke to us, the way he encouraged us, the way he made us want to be better, kept a lot of us off the streets in Freeport in the early 90s. Mr. McDonald is definitely one of the greatest Bahamians. And of course, like her husband, Mrs. Yvonne McDonald has made an invaluable contribution to the development of youth in our country. She has served as Commandant of the Girls Brigade of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands since 1982, where she has mentored thousands of young women in the Bahamas. Mrs. McDonald is described as having a heart of gold. She has been a mother to the motherless over the years. She has partnered with the Magistrates Court and Program Shore in Grand Bahama to mentor troubled teens. Many young women are in a better place today because of her acts of selflessness. On behalf of the members of the official opposition, we wish to congratulate you and, of course, the ministry for its insight in your selection, for your long, outstanding service to the overall development of youth in our country. Thank you so much for your service. And Mr. Member for Garden Hills, continuing with the work that you're doing in this space, and Sandina for the ongoing work that you've been doing for so many years. We like to recognize another young person who is here today, and I proudly wear the patch that she has designed along with others who are part of her foundation. And so, Bria Curry, was an honor in person meeting you. And so I wish to say in this, as we look at Youth Month and the incredible young people that are being groomed, it is good to have Bria Curry, who has a foundation. I believe many of us would have heard before, through Bria's eyes. She has been very instrumental in some of the institutions that we would have heard doing great work in this space, the Children's Place Preschool, Wellington Prep, primary and secondary schools in Spanish Wells, North Eleuthera. We salute you for the incredible work that you're doing, and Bria as being a pace setter. I wish to encourage all of the members of the House of Assembly, and we can do it through you, Mr. Deputy, to support the foundation by purchasing items that this foundation has produced. Bria has been known for selling sweets, T-shirts, earrings, and what has motivated her, it's my understanding, is having had two mothers who have had breast cancer. Unfortunately, one of them passed, but she continues to work to raise money. And not only has she done it for breast cancer survivors, but she's also been supportive of autism research and making contributions to the association as well. And so we salute her. We salute her parents, grandmother. We salute the member for Central and South Eleuthera, who, oh, sorry. And of course, and we, as we salute you, Bria, we also salute some of the teachers who work closely with you, Sandra Pierce Knowles, Ashley Knowles as well. With your leave, Mr. Deputy, the honorable member for East Grand Bahama is a product of Anita Doherty, and I would request humbly that he have an opportunity just to say a word in tribute to an incredible Bahamian.
Definitely.
Excuse me.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Deputy, thank you, and I want to thank the government also for allowing us to have this opportunity to speak. You know, there are occasions in the House of Assembly's history that you want to lend your voice to support, and you want to have it on the record that you have spoken in support. And with respect to the McDonalds, who I personally have grown up watching, grown up observing, and my wife, Tamika, who is a product of the Girls Brigade and a product of Miss McDonald, we personally want to say thank you for their service. And not only are they contributing in terms of what they have contributed, but their legacy lives on through their children. And their children have been doing very, very productive things in society as well. And so I most definitely want to add my voice to congratulate you, to congratulate the Ministry of Youth for choosing such a very, very deserving couple. Anita Doherty, Mr. Deputy, again, it was amazing when we participated in the memorial service for Anita Doherty. And to hear the amount of persons throughout the Bahamas who have been impacted by her life and have been impacted by not just her as a vice principal or a principal, but her as a mentor, her as a sports icon. If we were to take the amount of time to listen to all of the stories and listen to all of the persons who have been impacted by her, I suspect you would be listening to them for a good 10 years. But as someone who personally can say that she has significantly impacted my life personally, while I attended the Freeport Anglican High School when she was vice principal at the time, she spoke words of encouragement to me personally, spoke words of encouragement to all of the students that were there, and lived a life that all of the students could emulate in terms of her values, her strength, and her encouragement. Up until the time of her death, we continue to receive voice notes and continue to receive WhatsApp notes of encouragement to her. And I said this during the memorial that I felt special because I was receiving these voice notes from her. And come to find out that she sent voice notes to thousands of persons to impact those thousands of persons. But Mr. Deputy, I want to have it recorded that the member for East Grand Bahama supports the awards, supports the recognition for the McDonald's, and supports the recognition for Ms. Anita Doherty.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the documents be brought up. Order that the documents to lie on the table. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Central and Saudi Lutra.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. First, I want to congratulate Leslie McDonald and his wife and for the contribution that they made to sports, being a young person. And I think you all now realize that I can play sports. And you all probably know a couple. You was on the court with me, man. You agree? I can jump too. But I'd like to congratulate and thank you for that contribution to sports and to Grand Bahama. But I must rise to congratulate my niece and my mother, who seems to look much younger than me. I guess that's what politics does to you sometime. But they're here to celebrate and to raise awareness for breast cancer, who the member, the leader of opposition already spoke to my two grandmothers. And what's ironic is that on the patch, you'll see Pearl, who was the grandmother, who was probably my biggest supporter in politics. And she never made it to see me stand here in this place as member or as minister. So it's fitting that her name is on this patch is to celebrate her life, her legacy. And, it's a lot of families that's been negatively affected by this. So I want to congratulate my niece, a good PLP, she just don't know it yet. She knows it. I'm going to show you a video after the house. I can show you a video when she was younger. For someone her age to really to take the initiative to do and to speak to this, I think is powerful. And maybe I think that leadership might let us sit in this place one day as the first female representative from North Eleuthera. So once again, I want to congratulate her and the work that she's doing, and please donate to her foundation and what she's contributing to women across this country, especially in Eleuthera, where breast cancer seems so prevalent. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Pine Ridge.
To congratulate Reverend Leslie McDonald, and Commandant Yvonne McDonald. They have done so much for the Grand Bahama community with respect to youth development, and we honor you. This Lifetime Achievement Award is well deserving. And I would also like to congratulate the family of the late Anita Doherty. She also served as my PE coach and vice principal. When I was younger, I won a scholarship from a government primary school, Martintown Primary School, to attend Freeport Anglican High School, and Anita Doherty took me under her wings and guided me throughout my tenure. And so we just honored her the other day on Grand Bahama Island with the NACAP championship. And it was such a humbling experience for her son, John, who was there as well. And so again, we want to congratulate both recipients, the McDonalds and Anita Doherty, for such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
The bills. But just let me say that we have been honoring the beautiful couple who's here today, and they've done so much in Grand Bahama. But what we must point out too, Mr. Deputy, is that his wife is a cancer survivor. She has been ill for several months now, been in hospital for several months. It is so wonderful to see her at her strength, her determination to come here today, to come up these stairs and to be with us. We want to thank you so much. You are an encouragement. She is an encouragement, Mr. Deputy. If you saw her in Grand Bahama when she's at the marches with her young ladies, how she's all over the field and she's ensuring that they are organized, and she's done so well, and her husband equally, the work that they have done. When I served as Minister of Tourism, I had the wonderful privilege to ensure that they were able to travel to other countries to perform for our country, and I want to thank him very much for the work that you've been doing. Just let me say about Anita Doherty, I think I'm the only one in this place who actually lived with Anita Doherty. I was like a son. And I stayed with her when she taught here in New Providence at D.W. Davis, and when she was a member of the national netball team, a member of the track team, a member of the softball team, and a wonderful leader and bringing so much to help young people. She spent her entire life giving to improve our nation. She was never selfish. And when she passed on, it was such a loss to our nation, but she has encouraged so many to serve and to follow her footsteps, and many will, and we'll see others because of her. But Anita Doherty is one of the greatest women this country's ever produced. And I think the ministry, your team, the decision you've made, they could not have chosen better on this occasion. And we certainly look forward to celebrating the occasion with them. And of course, I got a chance to meet Ms. Curry today. I was the first one. I was the first one to take a picture with you today. I want to remember that. I'm going to save that picture. I'm going to treasure that picture. Congratulations to you and the work you're doing. You have vision, obviously leadership, and we stand with you and we encourage you. And it's so good to see Clay's mother with us today and join us. Your son is doing an incredible job for our country, and we're very proud of him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Further communications by ministers. Communication by the clerk. Message from the Governor General. Message from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentations of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills.
Mr. Deputy, I've gotten agreement from the opposite side to withdraw Bill number 46, which is a bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Accounts Information Act.
1 minute. Are there any objections? Carry on.
Mr. Deputy, I now move for this bill to be read for the first time, Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill 2022.
Is there a seconder? Second. Order that the notes be brought up.
I almost got it right to say. Thank you. Yes, sir.
It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a first time and tabled. A bill for an act to amend Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act 2016. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The bill be read for a first time and tabled.
A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act 2016.
For the first reading of bills.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a bill for an act to repeal and replace the Public Procurement Act, to revise the framework and procedures for the public procurement of goods, works, and services, to further promote fair and equitable treatment of all suppliers, consultants, and contractors, to further promote competition, transparency, sustainability, and integrity in the public procurement, and for connected matters.
Second.
Order that the documents be brought up. Order the documents to... It has been moved and seconded that the following bills... This one. That the following bill be read the first time and tabled. Yes. A bill for an act to repeal and replace the Public Procurement Act, to revise the framework and procedures for the public procurement of goods, works, and services, to further promote fair and equitable treatment of all suppliers, consultants, and contractors, to further promote competition, transparency, sustainability, and integrity in public procurement, and for connected matters. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read the first time.
A bill for an act to repeal and replace the Public Procurement Act, to revise the framework and procedures for the public procurement of goods, works, and services, to further promote fair and equitable treatment of all suppliers, consultants, and contractors, to further promote competition, transparency, sustainability, and integrity in public procurement, and for connected matters.
For the first reading of bills.
Readings.
Second reading and committal of bills.
No second readings or committals.
Committee of the Whole. Third reading and passing of bills. Consideration of Senate amendments. Resolutions. Member statements.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of people that who I represent, and first of all, to recognize the presence of Craig's mother, Mrs. Sweeting, and her granddaughter, Leah, and the patch that they were giving out downstairs to bring awareness to breast cancer. And I don't know if anyone notices my earrings, which we're dressed alike. Yours didn't fit. The member saying Barnabas said his own didn't fit. So we'll fix you up. But no, I just wanted to actually to raise awareness on this issue of breast cancer. And as many may know, in the Bahamas, there is a particular gene that many Bahamian women have inherited, the BRCA gene, which leads to, in many instances, an aggressive form of breast cancer. And so, and there's a lot of research that's going on about it because it's really peculiar to the Bahamas. And so I think I want to use this opportunity to raise awareness in general to the issue of breast cancer for women, and also in particular to encourage my constituents and indeed women throughout this nation and their partners and their sons and daughters and friends to encourage women, including young women who are particularly at risk when they have the BRCA gene to this aggressive form of cancer, to do the appropriate checks to ensure that they have covered their own health and are proactive in the event there is an issue. They can quickly seek care and to fend off the ravages of breast cancer. And so I wanted to encourage. I also wanted to thank the Minister of Works, who is sitting next to me, member for Fort Charlotte, who the work underway in the Engliston Park. I saw them, they were out there yesterday. And I want to thank him for his support for in many aspects in Engliston and for work that has to happen. And indeed, all of my colleagues, we are a team, Deputy Speaker, and we cooperate with each other with a view, and there's no one-man band, and we seek to work together because we are as strong as our weakest link. And we do not intend to have weak links in this team. And so I want to use this opportunity to thank all of my colleagues who have helped in one way or another for the people of Engliston. You love me? Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, just a couple of matters concerning East Grand Bahama. First of all, Mr. Deputy, the residents of East Grand Bahama have asked me to continue to advocate for as much assistance as possible with respect to the inflation crisis that we continue to experience. I believe residents in East Grand Bahama, residents in all of Grand Bahama, and I believe throughout the Bahamas, they continue to struggle with high food prices. They continue to struggle with high prices in general, and in particular, high construction cost, high building materials cost. And so we will continue to advocate on their behalf. We will continue to plead on their behalf to assist and for the government to do all that they possibly can to mitigate. We know that the inflation crisis was not caused by the government, but governments all over the world are putting in place measures, and a number of different measures they are putting in place to assist residents throughout their countries. So we ask and plead for the government to do the same. We also want to advocate for, there are a number of young men and young people throughout East Grand Bahama. This month is Youth Month. And while we are very pleased that we are going to recognize young people from all over the Bahamas, and we should be recognizing them throughout the entire Bahamas. But we should at the same time ensure that, especially in areas like East Grand Bahama, that we provide economic empowerment for as many of these young people as possible. And that is through a variety of means, not just by providing a job, and a job is necessary, but it is also through providing all of the necessary training, the necessary entrepreneurship, and the necessary funding that our young Bahamians will require to start their own business, to get started in technology, to ensure that they are enlightened and can be pushed into those areas. So we want to continue to advocate on their behalf. We agree that they must be recognized, but in recognition, we have to ensure that they are economically empowered as well. The residents in East Grand Bahama also would wish for us to inquire. There was a BTBI program an ICT BTBI program. It was a summer program that evolved into a yearly program. It saw close to 500 young people get certifications. I'm told that the program may be on hold, and we just want to inquire as to what's happening with the program. It is most certainly a program that we would wish to continue, and I believe both sides would wish for that program to continue, so we would advocate that the government ensure that that program continues and is there for the benefit of young people. They were able to achieve college credits while still in high school with respect to ICT. 450 have already been receiving those certificates. And finally, Mr. Deputy, this coming holiday weekend, I believe it's the holidays on the 10th or the holiday Monday, the McLeanstown community will be celebrating 50 years of their McLeanstown Concracking Festival. It is one of the longest standing festivals throughout the country. They are celebrating 50 years. And as we want to congratulate the association, the committee, due to Dorian, due to COVID, it has been put on hold for, I believe, almost 3 years. So this is going to be the first time that they are coming back since Dorian and since COVID. And so we want to congratulate that association. It's led by a energetic team. Gino Thomas is their president. Their vice president, all of the associations are from McLeanstown. In fact, to be a part of the association, you must prove that you are from McLeanstown. And so we want to invite the entire community to come out. We want to invite the entire Grand Bahama and Bahamas community to come out and celebrate with us in McLeanstown this coming holiday. Thank you very much.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Angliston.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy. Two matters. Well, one is on the issue raised by the member, which was dealing with young people in general, and also on the particular program. The member may not know, BTVI actually has rolled out, I believe it's begun, a program throughout the country including Grand Bahama. They went door to door almost on the ground, finding young people, particularly those who may have fallen short in this pandemic period, and has totally free a 3-month program, which all being well, we will assist in scholarshiping into a long-term program through BTVI. The current board is very aware, very committed to young people. And so while that program you spoke of may have been suspended, you will find and you will see many initiatives rolling out that will focus on young people throughout this nation. I can guarantee you that. But I wanted to also say, though, Mr. Deputy, I'm going to release a message today to teachers nationwide, but I wanted for our colleagues to recognize that today is World Teachers Day. And thousands of teachers in this country are being recognized and across the world for their contribution to the human development of human potential and human brilliance through the classroom and in our schools throughout this nation and globally. And so I wanted to, on behalf of my ministry and for the benefit of those present in this House and the entire nation, to recognize that today is World Teachers Day. And I always say, and this is my motto to people everywhere: love your teacher.
Yes,
love
yes,
your
yes,
teacher.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognized the Honorable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Just wanted to say something very quickly in response to the minister. And I accept that BTVI. No, I accept that BTVI is doing other programs, but I just wanted to emphasize the importance of this ICT program, and that if it could be continued, because it was again providing certifications. It was more than just 3 months. It provided certifications for those young people. That's all.
Can I just say, that the BTVI and this new board is committed to skills training, which includes ICT training of young people. That particular program that you spoke of has been suspended, but you will see roll out various programs, including ICT. In fact, the Ministry of Education has now introduced coding into our schools nationwide, primary and high school. And so for the first time ever, our young people are learning coding. So I want to indicate to you the commitment to teaching our children 21st century skills, and in particular for the young people who are out of school and out there. We will bring a special, peculiar focus, as we are doing right now, but it will incorporate ICT skills.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognized the Honorable Member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. On the heels of the comments of the member of Angliston, I too would like to offer my congratulations to the thousands of teachers across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas who have made an invaluable contribution to my development, as I'm sure is the case for all of the members, and they continue to be an inspiration to us all. To Bria, you are, even at your young age, you are a great Bahamian. Yes. Continue to be the inspiration that you are. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Shirley Bannaby Dames, died at the age of 56 with breast cancer, and that was in 2000. So like many Bahamian families, my family knows too well, unfortunately, the tragedy of breast cancer. So we continue to applaud you for the work that you do. Mr. Deputy, I would like to inform the members of the St. Barnabas constituency of our next installment of our Helping Hand initiative, starting this Friday to the 10th, Monday, from 3 o'clock to 7:30. We are going to be giving out free drinking water, free refills in 5-gallon bottles. So we're encouraging the constituents to come by. I'm on 4th Street there behind the Birders building, where we are going to provide as many refills for drinking water as we can. Also, Mr. Deputy, I'd also like to congratulate ahead of time. As we all know, on Monday, we have the investiture of the National Honors, and we have some 204 Bahamians, men and women, who will be receiving honors on Monday. And so we continue to salute those persons who have made an indelible mark in Bahamian life and on Bahamian society. There are three persons in particular that I wish to mention before I take my seat. One of those persons is my, I wouldn't call him a good friend. I wouldn't call him a friend because I'm too junior, but definitely a partner in community work, and that is Bishop Lawrence Roll. And everybody knows the good work that Bishop Roll does there on 2nd Street. Also, Pastor Angela Pratt Roll of Lively Stone Church of God. And then, of course, lastly, my wife's grandfather, Captain Simpson Penn, and we all know of the great work of Captain Simpson Penn over the last 40 years, not only in the 40 plus years, not only in the Boys Brigade, but definitely to develop development of young men in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Pinewood.
A few things. I would like to inform the residents of the great constituency of Pinewood that their concerns with regards in particular to the recent rains and the flooding and Sapadilla, Jacaranda, Casarilla, they were the main areas that I've spoken with the member for Fort Charlotte. And as soon as those waters recede, that we will continue our drain cleaning program that has been going on also to those residents over on Buttonwood. I would also like to tell them that our branch meeting is scheduled for next week, Thursday, of which an update will be provided with regards to the drain solution that we spoke about early this year. Finally, I'd like to give condolences to the Oliver family and also to the Wallace family who has experienced the Grim Reaper over the past few weeks. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Kalani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. It's unusual that I speak during our mistake. But, Mr. Deputy, as we have just experienced Hurricane Dorian, I would just like to send special condolence to all those countries within the region who had just recently experienced Hurricane Ian and subsequently had lost lots of lives. And I want to especially send those condolences out to Florida Governor DeSantis, who was very helpful to us during the pandemic when we were running out of oxygen, and he was able to ensure that the Bahamas was well supplied. A message to Kalani, our exercise program yesterday went very well. There were 35 women and 4 men. And I must say, Mr. Deputy, that I thought I was in shape, but having worked out with those young ladies yesterday, I am now in a bit of pain, recognizing that I am not in shape. I visit a lot of family members within the inner city and members within my constituency also as family members in the inner city. And they've asked me to express their concerns and the challenges that they face. We had passed a law, the Economic Empowerment Act, where the inner city has been declared tax-free. And for some reason, Mr. Deputy, individuals within the Baintown and Centerville area are being pushed to pay real property tax when the law is straight that there are no real property tax nor business license within those areas once their revenue stream is below $5 million. Those above is a different kettle of fish. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Deputy, some individuals who were given exemption when the law was first enacted, Ministry of Finance, personnel within the Ministry of Finance are insisting that they pay even for those particular years, so they're backdating them. And I'd like the Prime Minister to look into that, because that is against the law. Baintown, Centerville sectors of the inner city has been declared a tax-free zone. No real property tax, no business license, no duties, etc. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Nassau Village.
You have the bill, Glennis.
Good morning, House. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to extend condolences to the Morley family on the passing of Robert Morley, and also to the LaFleur family. We all would be aware of the blatant broad day shooting on Robinson Road yesterday that claimed the life of a 32-year-old. He was actually a bus driver from my constituency of Hope Gardens who actually drove for me in the last general elections. So it's truly a sombering moment and a sombering day. And I wish to publicly denounce the use of illegal firearms and any type of aggressive actions towards each other, especially in retaliation as we go forward. Considering this is Youth Month, I call for all of the youth and all of the young men especially of the nation to put down its arms and continue to let us live in peace and progress forward. So again, to the LaFleur family, have my sincerest condolences, and to the Hope Gardens community that remains shaken at this moment, remember that I stand in solidarity with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Appointment of select committees. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings.
Mr. Deputy, we wish to renew all notices in the name of the government.
Mr. Deputy, we get notice of further questions to be tabled now. Question time is our next meeting. I don't think the agenda provides for debate, but the rules are the rules.
The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. My questions are directed to the member for Kent Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. First, when will the government disclose the amounts that were paid out to various civil servants who received settlements after they were placed on administrative leave and redeployment? Two, when will the government pay the senior civil servants who they have sent on administrative leave and were found to have done nothing wrong, who were redeployed out of their positions and who were stripped from their legal posts and lawful secondments the same way they have settled matters related to the financial secretary and others? Thirdly, when will senior civil servants on administrative leave return to work? 4, when will senior civil servants who were stripped of their duties be given work in line with their positions? 6, in a reported response to the Tribune, October 4, 2022, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service suggested that the senior civil servants were stripped of their portfolio, redeployed, and sent on administrative leave because they had openly defied lawful orders and put obstacles in the way of the Davis administration. When will the government provide evidence that these officers were afforded the opportunity to defend against charges as required under general orders? When will the government provide evidence that these officers were given verbal and written warnings by their immediate supervisors as is required under general orders? Is the minister saying that it is now illegal for civil servants to say that they do not and will not support the government of the day? The Davis administration has set a new precedent that any civil servant who has been placed on administrative leave or redeployed should be compensated beyond their normal salaries and emoluments. What measure did the government use to determine the amounts to be paid to those civil servants that are in this category. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy
Thank you,
Speaker.
Honorable Member. Order that the documents be brought up. Order that the documents to lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, 3 questions directed to the member for Fort Charlotte, the Minister for Works. It has been stated in a Tribune article dated today's date by the BPL chairman that once you delay, you accumulate. So there was an accumulation of arrears, which we are now seeking to recover through glide path strategy, end quote. Isn't it true that that had the government not delayed the cost paid to Bahamians, the cost now would be less than it would have been had they not delayed? The second question, the former chief executive had previously stated that the government hedge was locked at a fuel charge of at or below 11.5 cents per kilowatt hour through March of 2024. Why has the government failed to ensure that the 11.5 cents continued to be locked in through to March of 2024? And third, why has the government not removed VAT off of the fuel purchased by BPL, which would result in less costs to consumers?
Order that the documents be brought up. The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Anne's.
Deputy Speaker, just to confirm, we renew all business in the name of the opposition.
Thank you, member. Order that the documents to lie on the table. Adjournment.
Mr. Deputy, I now move that the House adjourns to Wednesday, October 19th, 2022 at 10 a.m.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the House of Nets Rising adjourn to the 19th of October at 10 a.m. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Final adjournment.
Mr. Deputy, I now move that the House now stands adjourned to Wednesday, October 19th, 2022 at 10 a.m.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the House do now adjourn. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. This House stands adjourned to 10 a.m., the 19th of October, 2022.
All rise!